There's no such thing as a happy old feminist. Case in point, I had to become feminine. That's dirty language that you have right there, lady. Businesswoman 42 and single, breaks down, ditches feminism to find a husband. Yep. No, exactly. All those strong, independent boss babes. You go out there, you get your bag, girl. There's no such thing as a happy old feminist. I talk about this all the time here and on the main channel, okay? Sure, they have that narrative when they're young and tight and hot and fresh when the world is just at their fingertips. But as soon as they hit the wall up here and, right up here, then they start to realize that, my biological programming was trying to tell me something different. And then the indoctrination coming in through my ears was letting me process. So we have all of the high-profile cases that are out there. Sheryl Sandberg, okay, she wrote an entire book about how you need to be a strong, independent boss babe, but not everybody's going to be able to be the COO of the biggest website in human history. No, of course not. But then what happened at 50? Oh, she decided to retire and get married. Funny thing about that, to some beta that she's probably going to end up divorcing here. But whatever, regardless, it's just a marriage of convenience, if we're being completely honest. Or, all of those other, radical feminists from way back in the cut writing an article in some prestigious papers. It's feminism lied to me. Or even the writer and the scripter behind Sex in the City coming out at 60 saying, I just lied to everybody and I'm miserable now. Well, at least now we have a little bit more of a relatable case here. Somebody who, if she played her cards right at 42, could probably still find somebody. Probably not somebody as good as one of the options that she decided to turf along the way, okay? And she's got another ding behind her as well. She was also previously married. Oh boy, this one's going to be fun. Lisa Stingley was supposed to be happy. Oh, weren't we all, sweetheart? An accomplished career woman with a headhunting firm in Washington. Wow, imagine that. A hotshot lawyer and she's just not happy at the end of the day? Oh my lord. Thinking that there's no difference between men and women and she could just live the single life until she hit 40 and then realized, oh no, the only reason people are paying attention to me is because things are hotter, tighter, and newer. And now that there's another crop who's actually hotter, tighter, and newer, she was a superstar in some people's books. There's a glamour to women working outside the home, she says. Yep, yet weirdly, the feminist values Stingley, once venerated for garnering success, a genuine sense of accomplishment, suddenly rang hollow. Something was missing. Wow, suddenly rang hollow? And then she turned 40 and realized everything was wrong? Wow, imagine that. What about all those young girls who were out there saying, I'm just going to go out there and get my bag. You can't rely on no man. Until you realize that, yeah, look at this lady right here. She got the bag. And then when she came home and all she could hear is, meow, meow, meow. It wasn't quite as happy and it wasn't quite as fulfilling as hearing the little pitter-patter of feet. Something that pretty much every woman ultimately wants at the end of the day. Then 42, not a man in sight. Oh yeah, trust me, it's not coincidental. Once all the free attention started to dry up. Oh what? Now I gotta reconcile with reality? Stingley panicked, had a breakdown, and decided she wanted marriage. Wow, when nobody's giving her free attention, now she wants attention. Typical woman. You go home to an empty apartment, she told the Epoch Times. Well, it's not quite as empty, okay, unless you took the recyclables or the box wine out to the curb. There's probably a couple of things that are there. I would have breakdowns when something would break in my home. I would get so resentful. A man should be fixing this. Of course. But you spent your 20s and 30s wanting a man, not needing a man. And then when you realize that, oh darn, I do need a man. Oh, guess what? What happened? Where'd they go? What happened? Where's everybody? But the type she was praying for was scarce in the hyper-careerist environment of DC. Her breakdown was an exit sign. Yeah, imagine that, because, again, you probably could have had just the choice of any average man that you wanted. But guess what? You are a successful career woman, and guess what? Women do not date down. Hypergamy, well, it's not a straitjacket. It's very, very, very much a reality, and you probably had to reconcile with that fact that you only see men that are at your level or above, okay? And if they were at your level, if they were also a headhunter at a firm, at a Washington firm, they probably had to be at a little bit more of a prestigious firm in order for you to take notice of them. But guess what? Those guys that are in those positions, those are top tier individuals. You decided to succeed to a level that your biology, that your internal programming, that your software would not allow you to see any other individuals, and priced yourself out of the game. And the guys that also seen you at that same level, you probably also, in order to get to that high powered position, probably had to exhibit some characteristics that weren't quite as feminine as the guys who are at the upper echelon of society would demand from a partner, okay? You were probably abrasive, you were probably confrontational, you were probably a hell of a good negotiator. All of those things are wonderful, fantastic traits of a successful man. But when it comes to a lifelong partner and something that a high-value man would want in a partner, it's not something that they want. Feminine, fit, and deferential. All things that you won't find in successful high-end litigators, especially in Washington, D.C. The total transformation from her careerist views followed, delivering her from the feminist wilderness she was mired in. And again, huge red flags here. Once a feminist, always a feminist, okay? Because if she manages somehow, by putting out this screed right here, to somehow bag a beta that she would have turned to the curb 20 years ago, but now all of a sudden is just a magical catch that caught her on her descent, because women always live life with the idea that there's always going to be a safety net underneath of them, okay? It's very rare, okay? Especially if she's in some sort of shape, okay? Because she's not terrible, okay? From a looks perspective, okay, back in the day, she would have been fine, okay? She would have been fine. She would have been able to find somebody and have a wonderful family, okay? Her kids would be in grade school or middle school by this time, okay? Would have been a happy woman. But now she's having to start, and then also the old biological clock at 42 years old. Yeah, that's not exactly a certainty that she's going to be, not trying to be rude, not trying to be mean or anything like that. We're just stating facts right here. Don't get mad at me. I just work here. I just report the facts. But that biological clock, it's long past ticking. It's tonking, and it's clicking and clapping once any of those eggshells, just manage to fall out of that old carton. There might be one or two rattling around in there, but they're few and far between. And again, another thing that men in high-powered positions, guys who are in your field, guys that you're going to be willing to take seriously, at least meet your standards, they also want a fertile woman on top of an attractive wife that's out there. It took humility and digging deep. Sure it did. But she rebuilt herself, and she thought she knew of womanhood. But again, this is another lie that society tells, okay? Feminize all the men. Tell men that they need to man down for generation after generation. They also tell the woman that, oh, look at all of these pathetic men that are out here. You need to be better men than them. You need to go ahead and pick up the slack for all of those losers that are out there. Not realizing that, taking that advice a little bit too seriously, you just quite frankly, toss your femininity to the side, and then you just live a very masculine life that is not appealing to most men. There's those weirdos that are out there that want to get stepped on or whatever, but we're talking about average men. Oh yeah, and my point beforehand, never marry a feminist, okay? Even if she does magically get saved by one of those perpetual betas that are out there that, yes, my queen, you look beautiful for 42, okay? And she ends up having a kid or something like that. They adopt, or I don't know, they find one on the side of the road. She's still going to instill those values. Not, knowing anything about that, okay? Not course correcting, because guess what? She got saved at the last second, okay? That 11th hour, just Hail Mary, guess what, man? It landed, stuck the landing, and she's still going to instill those values to some level, okay? Because if I didn't have that career to fall back on, oh man, I'll just tell you, I would have been destitute because there was no good suitors all the way until I was 42. But let's see if she's actually learned her lesson, because sometimes you get some of those course corrections that happen out there. But oftentimes, this is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It was worth it. Oh, it was worth it, she says. Certain things are ingrained. The sooner you embrace, the better. The year was 2002 when her embracing began. Wait, she was 42 in 2002? Oh yeah, she's finished. She's done. Race for a husband. Aw. Stingley's off-ramp led to Texas. Texas back in 2002. That there be bush country. where she moved in with her sister and brother-in-law in Irvine. Ooh, nice area too. And again, this is a top tier, top percentile woman right here. And even still, like, I'm pretty sure Irvine's one of the more expensive places to live in Texas. Again, it's one of those places I've been looking to relocate to. Not for, like the over-the-hill women that are there. It's just because Texas and freedom and not Canada. A resignment trailed her. She would have to pick from a pool of broken people, but that never happened. Maybe things weren't so dire after all. My sister and her husband were scheming to find me a husband, and normally... oh, that would have humiliated me, she said, but I'm like, scheme away. Of course, the less she has to do, the better, because again, life is happening to her, not for her. She really needs to switch things up. Within 2 months, in August, her sister and brother-in-law, avid runners, hooked Stingley up with a runner fella at Fort Worth's annual Runners Club Labor Day race. Richard, an aerospace engineer. Oh, not exactly a poor guy. Wasn't broken. They hit it off, and in December they were hitched. Though their happily ever after wouldn't happen overnight. Wow, imagine that. Is that the guy from the main picture right there? Yeah, no. Captain Save-A-Ho right there. The old job of Stingley's, like some perverse testosterone treatment, had made her masculine, she says. Oh, I didn't even read this beforehand. I just knew, because always. That dynamism, so intoxicating in the corporate world, now affronted her husband and a harmonious marriage. Yeah, of course, this guy's an aerospace engineer, okay? He's working with some high-level dudes. Stressful situations, because if he doesn't get measurements and calculations correct, people that go up in these crafts end up exploding once they hit the atmosphere and then dying in the cold vacuum of space, okay? And then if he has to come home and engage in an intellectual debate with his wife, who is also a high-end litigator, there's going to be some friction there, some unnecessary friction. And again, this guy's a high-level individual, keeps himself in shape. He's going to be able to go out there and find an average woman. Doesn't have to be as attractive, doesn't have to be as accomplished, because guess what? Men, they aren't as hypergamous as women, okay? They will date up, down, across, over, down the alley, okay? They don't care if she's hot and she's available. She's a potential target. For what? Nah, we normally like to keep that on the main channel. I was loud, boisterous. I gave off, I call it repellent, male repellent, she said. I was so controlling. Wow, I thought guys like independent boss babes. They really like the bitches that are out there. I think the culture encourages men to be controlled and to be submissive, which I was not. So I determined not to do that, but that took years. This dude has that much patience, or let's be honest, was he also hitting some side at this point? I had to become more feminine. He chronically scrutinized Richard. Her chronically scrutinizing Richard didn't jive well, despite her own feminist leanings. Wow, of course, fighting against your internal software and then the new firmware that's installed by years and years of feminist indoctrination. Imagine that not working out well, and we wonder why women are so overwhelmingly on SSRIs and antidepressants. Just imagine that internal battle that's going on with the educated, successful woman. That's what society told us everybody wanted, right? Getting hit with all of these prompts all the time. I don't hold this individual woman responsible for these decisions. She's just living with the fact that society is lying and fundamentally destroying the nuclear family in the process. The feminist teaches to keep men wrapped around your finger. She rejected that. Honestly, women are repelled by male weakness. From your lips to God's ears, sweetheart. She admitted, but that can stop destroying their own nest. But they can't stop destroying their own nest. Oh, speaking about feminists, yeah, of course. Because, cats like to get into everything and wine, clean and cheap wine out of things. It's tough. Turning her gaze inward, she fixed herself at first. As she changed, he changed, and peace followed. Wow, imagine that. Not having to come home to a raging is somehow much more peaceful of a way to live life. Who could have possibly seen that coming? Stingley cultivated femininity purposefully. She stopped despising girly things. Okay, I thought that was a new word, but whatever. Like making dinners, but humbly embracing nurturing home ambience. Put on a dress, put on earrings, shave your armpits. You weren't doing that beforehand, and this dude married you still, and you guys were runners? Ew, what kind of a loser is this dude? Do your hair and love it, she said, adding, be chaste. Yeah, exactly. Don't be a hoe online. I don't know what kind of, what social media. Stop posting on your MySpace page. I'll put in bikini pics on your MySpace page, okay? Yeah, don't do that. If being chaste seems out of touch today, very much so. It's very rare. Stingley, a devout Christian. Wait a minute, she was... This lady's confusing. Knows why. TV and the media, besides spewing feminism, I would say it's a little bit deeper than that. It's a feminine, correct society with a gynocentric social order, which values the feminine over the masculine at every single term. Even the embracing of masculine values by a bunch of tradcons that are out there is all in the service of the females. We need to make better women by being better men, and men need to man up. How do you do that? Man up. Yeah, no, exactly. You're not offering any solutions now, are you? It's all done in service of men, or it's all done in service of female at the sacrifice of males. Because, they just need to be better. Okay, that's their burden. Okay, yeah, lift all of those rocks, take on all of that burden, all of that responsibility, and then go home to a woman who offers you no authority. And guess what? Responsibility without authority is slavery. I think there's a couple of amendments in the United States Constitution that outlaws that, except for when you take on the incorrigible, the unconscious negativity of a marriage contract. Interesting how that overrides everything. Why don't we examine the family courts? Anyways, elevating oneself lifts others around you, including men, bringing them up to what they're supposed to be, she added. Hey, there you go. A woman helping out their man, okay? There's no such thing as a happy wife, happy life thing. That's what a bunch of blue-pilled betas will go out there and tell you. Oh, and then at the same time, if my wife's happy, then I can go downstairs into my man cave and I might be able to watch the first half of the football game before she gets mad. Boy, I'm so happy that my wife allows me to do that. Ugh. It's called Happy King, Happy Kingdom. That phrase, okay, the happy wife, happy life, or I'm so lucky to have her. No. Even just take this situation, okay? He is an aerospace engineer, okay? This guy is chief nerd, okay? He would be like a 10 model at MIT, okay? This dude is top of his field, okay? And she's a lawyer. How many lawyers get churned out of the system every single year? Sure. She climbed the corporate ladder. But this dude's an aerospace engineer. How many of those guys end up graduating every single year? How many of those guys end up making 6 digits every single year? No. She's lucky to be with him. And that's where you should find yourself in that situation. Because if she's making more than you for any extended period of time, that relationship can work. It can work in the short term, but there's a shot clock on that relationship. And then when that buzzer hits, guess what? You're finding yourself getting served some papers going like, what am I doing? I thought I was doing everything right. Media portrays relationships seem slanted, most conspicuously towards dismantling marriage. Yeah, no, exactly. The man, you just take a look at any man on commercials, just sitcoms, even movies in general. Men are just incompetent, superfluous, or just outright abusers. Okay, so why would you want to take anyone seriously? Why would you want to engage in a relationship with somebody who's liable to either cheat on you, sell you out, lie to you, or beat the brakes off of you? Why would you want to do that? Okay, and then once you have that cognitive dissonance, okay, you start to look around at the world. It's like, wow, there's a bunch of good guys that are out there, but I'm constantly inundated with the messaging that men are just all these horrible creatures. Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. Media portrays, relationships slanted conspicuously toward dismantling marriages. They're shown having affairs are tremendously happy. Yeah, for the men. For the women, they just need to deal with it. Stingley observed the homosexual component couples very happy. The married couple hating each other. Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine being in a homosexual relationship? Not a lesbian relationship. We've seen the domestic violence stats on that one, and boy, are they damning. But 2 dudes, man, they're gay for a reason, okay? Because you know the alternate definition of gay, okay, means happy, because they don't have to deal with any of this feminist nonsense, okay? For eons, women have been embracing both babies and husbands, she adds. Traditional mothers were the backbone of nations. Men sacrificed. We've lost sight of that, said Stingley. We are so independent. Okay, you ever hear, okay, here's one thing, okay? You're talking to a girl or something like that, and she says, I'm a strong, independent woman. Ask her this question, and she will be stumped to high heavens. It doesn't even matter what degree she has hanging on her wall. Independent of what exactly? Guess what? Society has taught the strong, independent woman to be independent of men. And this lady right here and the other examples that are out there show that, yeah, no. The whole culture of, oh, I don't want a man. No, I don't need a man. I want a man. Yeah, guess what? That doesn't end up working at the end of the day. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Turning women into wives. This August marks 20 years from the first time they met. Stingley, now 63. Hey man, good on her. I don't know if we're going to hear any of these stories now that Instagram, social media is a thing, okay? Because this was back, 2002 when these two guys, when this couple hit it off, rather, sorry. Okay, there was a distinctive difference in society. There was no such thing as the global sexual marketplace. This was still localized, okay? She still had to meet face to face, okay? This was a social setting game that was running at the time, okay? Like what, Mystery and Neil Strauss's The Game were the two big pickup artist books that were out there, okay? There was no, okay, hopping on Instagram or Facebook or something like that, geolocating yourself to a country halfway across the world, taking a look at the localized marketplace that was there, and then getting some broad to hop on a plane and get her flued out to your place. That wasn't happening, okay? You couldn't be going out there sourcing women on the explore page on Instagram, okay? Seeing whose ass looks the best in the same bikini that's on every other girl that's on that page as well. Or just even a lady. Like I'm saying, okay? She's not bad, okay? She's definitely your average Becky that's out there, sitting on a couch that everybody in the 90s knew, or either their parents had it at the time. She could post herself in some level of disrobe. We'll just go ahead and say that, okay? Post it on Instagram and get immediate validation, and then just think, hey, guess what? I'm 40-something. I'm out there, and I'm strong and independent. I'm out there getting my bag, and I can get a man anytime I want, because guess what? There is some desperate dude in the middle of New Delhi that always wants to see my bobs and vagine. So guess what? Until the clock strikes 12, I will continue to pursue this life because it gives me meaning. She says that while tears are streaming down her face and chugging on a box of wine. Throughout the years, she connected with like-minded marriage-seeking women via the website Feminine Fallacy, Girls' Nights Out support group. Ooh, the just 304s telling on themselves, that's tough. And Christian Singles Outreach she founded for her lonely friends in D.C. Yeah, you'd think women in D.C., okay, even high-powered women, because there's high-powered men that are there, but joke's on them, they're all gay. She helped women contend with pervasive but easily dispersed notion it's easier to get struck by lightning than for a woman over 40 to get married. Well, not to the guys that you want. You're going to have to do that weird thing of lowering your standards. Today, Stingley continues to cultivate the traditional feminine traits, so she espouses. Now, she looks like she's holding on pretty good because, again, she's 63 after all, okay? Living on a ranch, still managed to, it somehow get supported by that safety net on the way down. Let's not cap. What words does she have for young belles still budding in their 20s, their whole life ahead, full of potential? Oh, don't be hoes. Make the most of your sexual market value peak, okay? That's 23 to 24, okay? Try to bet on a winner, okay, if it's somebody of your equal age. Or if you somehow manage to latch onto a high-value man at that same time who's a little bit older than you, you have to reconcile with reality that he's going to have choices, he's going to have options, he might exercise those. Just as long as you have the ring, you have the family, you have the Mercedes, that'll be fine. Would you rather cry in a Mercedes or a Toyota Corolla? Choice is yours. Choice is yours. I don't want them to go through what I went through, what my friends have gone through, Stingley said. Marriage is risky, but don't tell me it's not worth it. You can get fired from a job. That's a risk. That's more devastating. What is more worth the risk? Yeah, and that's also not saying, any girl in their 20s, okay, the first guy that shows up, hey, you want to get married? You don't have to marry a dork. You should be able to vet him as well. Same thing he's going to be doing to you. Any guy who's worth his salt, who knows his value, is going to be vetting you for a long-term relationship, okay? Teach these girls about value, okay? It's not just rejecting the feminist narrative, okay? Because, it's like, oh, I'm not a feminist. No, we'll just see how deep that programming goes, because I got some questions for you, okay? As long as you're attractive, as long as you're deferential, we got somewhere to start. We can build on that, but you have to add value. In short, sidestep the abyss and the feminist lies she fell for. Do embrace tradition, which has preserved societies for eons. Yes, exactly. Because again, that whole strong, independent woman narrative that was so popular over the past couple of decades, now those chickens are coming home to roost and realizing that they ain't got no chicks behind them. And that they're sad and that they're just blaming, why were there no roosters back in my day? Get an education? Yeah, no, exactly. But again, don't think that your PhD or your master's degree is going to get anybody hard. Yes, it's important. Stingley says a career. Sure, but very few women end up working careers. Most women just work jobs, and that's fine. That's fine. But then at the end of the day, if you're trying to get that high-valued man in order to take you seriously for a marriage, because that's women's game. Men's game is attracting a mate for the night. Women's game is attracting that mate for a lifetime. And getting all of those provisions and all of that security that it entails. And again, if you vet that man appropriately, you won't have to work. You can have enough things to take care of yourself and live a fulfilling life off the back of, theoretically and factually. Just saying. A career, sure, working a little before marriage can lead to a greater appreciation for what it offers. Yeah, and it also, again, instills a regiment, and it just also shows, okay? It also is a nice little check for the man who's also vetting you at the same time. Okay, does she show up on time? Does she take her job seriously? Oh, okay, cool. That is a coachable girl right there who shows deference to her boss. I appreciate that, but guess what? Yeah, I like her a little bit more than, her boss. So I'll just go ahead and, take her a little bit more seriously. That's for some guys that are out there. Some guys, you know what? Hey, man, they're just fine picking a broad up off the street. That's totally fine, too. I just appreciate the whole, she doesn't have to have a job. She doesn't have to have any kind of a career or anything like that. It doesn't really much matter when it comes to that. But if she's working a common job and she's good at that job, she's nice at that job, she's showing quality values at that place, that's a positive in my book. But still, also having a really small social circle, not being on a whole bunch of social media apps. That's all. That's maybe a little bit more important. But this isn't about me. This is about dispelling the feminist myth. Family is the essence of life, she added. You won't have a panic when Christmas comes along and you have nowhere to go. Just do it. Just do it. Just don't marry anybody. But you have options in your 20s, in your 40s. If you're lucky enough to have a good relationship with the rest of your family to get you, set up with that parachute at the end of the day. Yeah. But again, the world has changed so much even since she has just been married, okay? She was probably the last of a dying breed right there, okay? But yes, do heed her warning. Feminism has lied to you. It has brought more suffering and more pain and just about anything else on earth. But also, take my little bit of advice, okay? I've seen a whole bunch of this stuff go down. I've seen girls that I was very, very attracted to and very, very willing to give a little bit more than I gave back in high school start to progress throughout their years, and now in their 30s and their maybe second marriages or at least through their first divorce, I'm seeing a whole bunch of sad, long faces, and at 32, I want nothing to do with them. Hell no, they're already a decade too old for me. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.